This video is to show you how to maintain the club's calendar. In particular, what we're going to do is to take a spreadsheet with information about the tournaments that are going to be played, and we're going to upload it to the club's calendar. So I'm logged in as the Berwick Club user. So you need to either know the password for the Berwick Club user or have been assigned privileges that allows you to access these files. I'm in Google Drive, and this is the home page, and this is the shared folder that we all use to transfer data around between the club laptop, the scoring laptop, the competitions secretary's laptop, the people who deal the software, deal the boards so that they can transfer deal files, and anybody else who has to have permission, needs it to do their work. So we're going to go into the competition secretary folder. You'll see that there are some folders from this year, and also we've started to prepare next year's. So we're going to go into 2025-26 calendar, and there are two documents. The first document is a Google Docs document. That's sort of the equivalent of Microsoft Word, and it contains the calendar in a form that is used by the printer. So you can download the PDF version of this and send it off to the printer, and they will be able to print it at the scale that we want. The document we're going to work with is called ICS Calendar, which is a Google Sheet, so a spreadsheet similar to Excel, and it's called ICS Calendar. And it's called ICS because that is one of the standard formats for data that is stored in calendars, and so you can import and export typically in ICS calendar, in ICS format. So I'll double click on that, and it brings up the spreadsheet. You'll see that there are three spreadsheets, 25-26, which is the provisional calendar for next year. Now this is not linked in any way with the printer's version. So if I make a change here, then I have to go into the printed version of the calendar and make the same change. So it's important to realize there are two documents, they're completely independent, and you must make the changes in both. Now, what I'm going to work with today is the summer schedule. So this is just a spreadsheet. We need these header fields because they're used by the calendar to understand all the data. And we have the subject, so that's what the name of the event is. And you can see these are just all open match point pairs. They start hopefully on a Thursday because their location is the parish centre. And we put a description in the calendar entry. Start time, end date, end time. So and that's for the parish centre, and you'll see further down we've got other dates for events that are run on BBO. And as a default, I've toggled between match points and cross imps. And it's just important you know which you want to run. Now, one thing I often do before I start the load process is check whether these dates are correct, because I created this file by modifying last year's. It's very easy to get a day out for the start date. So what I'm going to do is to type in a Google formula into the spreadsheet for this cell, that's I2, that will hopefully help. So I'm going to say equals text. I'm going to choose the start date, click on the start date, so that's B2, and then I'm going to put the format that I want this text, this date to be formatted in. So DDDD, close the quote, close bracket, hit enter, and it also suggests an autofill, so it'll do that for every line. So I'll say yes to that. And we can see here that all the Berwick Parish Centre events are on a Thursday. So that's a good indication I've got the date, I probably got the dates right. And all the BBO ones are on a Tuesday. So again, that's a pretty good sign that these dates are correct. So what I'm going to do now, this is not a column that's used by the calendar input. I'm going to delete that column, but you saw how easy it was. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save or download in the CSV file. So it's comma separated values of this file. And this will be downloaded in this instance to the downloads folder of my own computer that I'm using. And we can see there, if I go to the downloads, it's downloaded ICS calendar 2526. It's only downloaded this one sheet. It hasn't downloaded the other one. And it has a .csv extension. So I don't need to look at that anymore. And that's very much all you really have to do to create the document. And now what we need to do is to upload it. So I've gone back to the main drive directory and I'm going to click on calendar here, and this will show me the club calendar. And if I click on this pop out button, it'll open it in a new tab for me. So this is the club calendar, and we can see they're normally later in the day, the bridge events. We see that last night they played the Wolf White. Tomorrow at the Berwick Parish Centre, we've got the final round of the Royal Bank. Now, if you go to settings, so we go to this cog here, and if I click on that, I can choose settings, and there are a lot of general settings. In particular, look at the date format, because one of the challenges when you're dealing with dates and importing them is whether you're importing English or American dates. You can imagine, well, this isn't a valid American date, but if you're importing dates that are in March, you prefer them to turn up in March and not on the 3rd of every month in the other months. And there's also import and export. So this is what we would use. And you select the file from your computer and then the calendar to put it in. Now the Berwick Bridge Club just has one calendar. If I was on my own computer, you'd see 3 or 4 there. Now, one thing I almost always do before I import to the real calendar is test it. So I'm going to leave settings now, and I'm going to create a new calendar that is owned by the Berwick Bridge Club. So I'm going to say plus, create new calendar, and I'm going to call it load test. Time zone, that's all we need. So we'll create a calendar called load test, and it will go away and create it. It's created it. Now what I'm going to do is import to this load test. And this is the real way that I can check that everything I'm importing works. So I'm going to select the file from my computer. The ICS calendar is there in my download. I'm going to do import. And it's imported 30 events, which sounds about right for our summer bridge, 2 a week, 15 weeks. And what I can do now is go back from settings, and you can see it's showing Berwick Bridge Club events, the main calendar, birthdays, and also anything that's in my load test. So if I go to the month view now, we will see with this orange tag, we've created events in the calendar. So 7th, so essentially every Tuesday and Thursday things are happening, which is good news. Hopefully they won't go on too long after August, because when we get into September, we'll have the winter season of trophies. But you can see that on August 19th, we've got open crossing pairs, it's on BBO, whereas on the 14th of August, it's at the Berwick Parish Centre and it will be match points. So it looks like it's working. If I go back to today, though there seems to be a gap at the 27th of May. So if I go back to this and I go to the BBO events, I wonder why I missed one out. So I think what happened there was 27th of May was originally the AGM, and we wouldn't have had a BBO evening on the night of the AGM. But we can see that the AGM has been moved to the Thursday, and I've inadvertently created an event on the 29th. So I'm going to go back into this calendar. The easiest way to add a new event is to insert one row below here. We'll copy this one. I did a Control C there, and now I'm going to do a paste. So we've got two duplicates. I can change this to the 27th. You'll notice this changed to the 27th as well. I'm going to change it to match points. Doesn't really matter that we have two match points on consecutive days. So there's a new one entered into my spreadsheet. And now if I go up to the 29th of May, which was, we can see here is now the AGM, I need to take this one out. And all I need to do for that is delete that row. So what I'm going to do is delete the original download. So that was this file. I can just delete that. I can now download my new file. And we see it's put a new version of the file there. I can go back to the calendar. I can go to settings. I can do import. I'll put it into load test. I'll select the new file. So I'm importing the new file into the calendar. Load test, import. And it's imported 30 events, which is interesting because I only changed 2. But I'll go back to settings and we'll see now that there is a new one on the 27th, and it doesn't seem to have been duplicated these, which is what I expected to happen. But you'll notice it hasn't deleted this one, so you would have to do that manually. But again, everything at the moment is in load test, and this is why you do testing into load test into a new calendar, so you can just fix these problems. And then what I'm going to do with load test is go to its settings and share-ins for load test, and down the bottom I can delete it. So now I'm going to delete the calendar I've just created, permanently delete it. And now when I go back to settings, all of those test things have gone, and I'm all ready to load my new calendar into the real calendar. So we'll go to settings, we'll go to import and export, and select the file that I know is okay, and then you just click import and it will go into the new calendar. Now I'm not going to do that now because I will leave that for someone else to do who's taking over the role, and they'll be able to do it in the future. But as soon as anything goes into the club calendar, it automatically appears on the club website. So it will turn up in forthcoming events, and the calendar of events is automatically updated with all the new entries to the club calendar. So you don't have to do anything at all to manage that. So I hope that's been a useful explanation of how to upload a calendar to the club's Google Calendar. I appreciate it's a little complicated, but as I say, if you create your own calendar, test upload into that before you upload to the what you might call production calendar, then everything will be fine. Good luck.